What's up, guys? What is going on? It is Dan, and today I am back with another Walking Dead video for The Walking Dead Season 8, obviously. Now, today's video is going to contain major spoilers for The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 4. The full episode, almost. I'd say at least about a good, probably around 25 minutes, worth of the episode has been leaked and released, and everything like that. So, if you don't want to know spoilers for episode 4 of The Walking Dead, leave this video right now, because I am going to go into some spoilers, and there is, some pretty big stuff. So, even though I will say there's no major character deaths, nothing major, but it is spoilers, and it is kind of annoying if you don't want to know. So I unfortunately ran into this, so I couldn't really, I couldn't hide, I couldn't hide from it. I already kind of knew, so I'd figured I'd release it, and for the people that actually do want to know, you guys can watch. So, yeah, last warning, definitely leave this video if you don't want to know any spoilers for The Walking Dead episode for this weekend. So now let's talk about it. So there was a leaked clip for the first 3 or 4 minutes of the season 8 episode 4 episode called Some Guy, and it's basically Ezekiel who is, going around the kingdom, and he is, he's saying goodbye to everybody. You have him getting out of the shower, and then he's kind of, getting ready. This is after the season 7 finale, and I will link it down below if you want to see that as well. So yeah, you have the kingdom, you have everybody saying goodbye to their friends and family, some people staying back, but you gotta remember, in this episode, there is some stuff I will go into later about the kingdom, but there is some stuff you guys will probably, you'll be like, oh, well, this is true. So I'll get into that later. You'll understand what I mean further on in this video. So now let's talk about what happens spoiler-wise. So apparently, after the intro credits, we have Ezekiel who is getting up. We have the kingdom people who are dead laying on top of Ezekiel. Daniel is killed off, and a couple other characters as well from the kingdom. Apparently, all of the kingdom gets wiped out at the end of episode 3 and in the beginning of episode 4 after the intro, credits and all that kind of stuff. So the only character from the kingdom that is alive is Ezekiel and Jerry. And yeah, I guess you can consider Carol as well. Now, Carol goes in later, of course, right before the kingdom people get shot down. Carol goes and, takes a look at, around the perimeter, so she doesn't get killed. But it's Ezekiel and Jerry and Carol who do survive. Now, the one thing about this, though, is that it definitely looks like in this episode, we're gonna see the main, cast of the kingdom get totally wiped out in this episode. So this is going to be a huge, number lost for our survivors. Now, now we don't really have many numbers left of our survivors. We only have the Hilltop. They have, a good, 30 to 40 people, maybe, I'm betting probably 30 to 40 people. Alexandria probably has around that amount too. So they have about 60 to 70 people probably left after this episode, I'm guessing. So it's still a decent amount, considering they've taken out a lot of outposts now, but we don't know how many, saviors are still out there. So it's still kind of a question, but definitely, yeah, that's something. So the kingdom people are shot down. Now we're going to get into some other spoilers after that. So Carol does go into the outpost. We see a sneak peek of her. There's this big guy and all that kind of stuff. And she actually does wipe out everybody inside. And she's doing pretty good. And then when she gets out of there, she starts getting fired at. And we have a sequence from the Comic-Con trailer that does appear in the show, which is the part from the Comic-Con trailer where, Jerry is saying, thank you, Your Majesty, for what? For being such a cool dude. And you have everything. Now, what's going on here is that Carol, of course, gets caught by these two guys, puts her hands up, and then we see what happens afterwards, because we actually get a really awesome sequence where you have Carol who's putting up her hands up, right? But there's these two guys pointing guns at her, and it's shown in the in the promo and everything like that. Now, clearly, in this episode though, we do see the kingdom get wiped out. So Ezekiel and Jerry are kind of alone, and there's a fence between Carol and Ezekiel and Jerry. Carol sees them from a distance, and there's a good couple of walkers. I'd say 20 to 30 walkers probably going for Ezekiel and Jerry. Maybe even some kingdom walkers. We'll have to see. And some of them may not have been actually shot in the head, so you never know. They could have died from something else, like they could have died from them being shot somewhere else. So you never know, really. But anyway, the point is that they could be fighting kingdom walkers, which I think is actually, it doesn't say it, but I think that's actually a very high possibility. Now, it looks like what happens here is that there's walkers everywhere. Shiva, in this episode, this is actually going to be the last episode for Shiva. Unfortunately, yes, it is going to be the last episode for Shiva. As unfortunate as that is, it looks like it is the end for Shiva. It's the scene from the Comic-Con trailer where you see the walkers around her, and she does get swarmed by the walkers, but actually does save Ezekiel and Jerry, and also Carol, who actually looks like what happens is Carol somehow gets away. Doesn't go into too much detail. And the guys flee the outpost. They're the only two remaining when she's putting up her hands, her hands up. And it looks like what happens is they go out, right, in these Jeeps. And what happens is, they run into Rick and Daryl, but we'll go into that in a minute. So then Carol runs into Ezekiel and Jerry, and she's like, come on, we gotta go. And Ezekiel doesn't want to leave Shiva, but, Carol says that Shiva is gone, and that is it. So, it's kind of, it's a sad scene. Then they're kind of cleaning up. Everybody's dead in the outpost. The other guys are gone, and they're kind of wondering. They're kind of stressed out about it. And, apparently what happens is that Carol says, hey, it's two guys. What the heck can they do? So, Jerry and Carol are trying to get Ezekiel back to the kingdom, and they're gonna, retreat and all that. And we have everything kind of happening where, Ezekiel says several times that he's like, just leave me behind, just leave me behind. And Carol's like, that's not your decision to make. So, that's what happens there. And then we have the two guys who go in the Jeeps. So, oh man. So, like I said, Carol does save Jerry and, Jerry and Ezekiel. So that's what happens there. They have similar names, man. And that's what happens there. So the two guys are out, and then Rick and Daryl do take them down. There's a pretty big car chase scene. It doesn't last a while, apparently. It is actually pretty entertaining. They don't go into too much detail. Daryl falls off his bike and some stuff like that. Rick jumps into the vehicle. They fly off the road. They execute them. They kill them. And it goes by pretty quick, but it's apparently a struggle. So, so that's what happens there. And then they take their weapons and all that kind of stuff. That is it. So I'm wondering to myself, I'm thinking, well, they gotta end it on some kind of note, and I don't think the ending is honestly leaked. I mean, they can't end it with them executing the guys and that's it. That's not long enough for 40, so minutes. So, it might be, but I don't really see that happening. So I'm guessing, in this episode, the ending is, maybe Ezekiel, Jerry, and Carol run into Rick and Daryl, and I'm guessing that's probably what happens. Now this is me making predictions, afterwards, and then they're probably just they're like, all right, let's leave, let's find the others at Hilltop or whatever, and maybe that's what they do, and they go. And maybe Rick stays back. Maybe he's like, just give me a second or something. Probably goes into the woods. And then we might see the sequence where Rick gets captured. That's probably how they're going to end it. But that last little bit there is probably, I don't know if that'll happen or not, because that's just my predictions. But the rest is spoilers. So that's, the majority of what happens. So I won't call this my review, but this is what's been released. So, I hope you guys enjoyed, again, if, please don't be mad because, I gave you guys a chance if you didn't want to hear it to leave, but yeah, that is what happens. Now, it's not into too much detail. There is some other stuff, I'm guessing, because how can that be 42 minutes? It's almost impossible. So there's some other stuff probably guaranteed. But anyway, guys, make sure to write all your comments below. I can't actually believe I've been filming this for like 10 minutes now. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe and share. And I will catch you guys really soon.